Greetings from you, brothers and sisters. Been running today, so I'm straightening myself up. Ask you to have mercy on me for that. It's a very, very interesting show. I'm sure you know. We'll be talking about some pretty uncomfortable truths today. And I know yesterday, I want to say last night, I believe it was, or yesterday, one of the brothers that came on Mauricelm-Lei TV to explain his grievance, and we respect it. He's a good brother. He's a good brother, and I believe that Ohio hailed him as a good man. And I want to be plain about this, brothers and sisters. I have no, I have no beef. I have no trouble with any brother or sister. I don't have any peace, or rather, any beef with any brother, any sister in the movement, or out of the movement for that matter. Because I know that we're all on the same side, and we're all being affected by the same evil. So I want to tell you that, and I think that's very important. I think it's very, very important. Too often we spend time or wasting time fussing and arguing with one another. Too often do we do that. And brothers and sisters, this is a waste of time for us to spend time fussing with one another about minute things. Because in the end of the day, I've got my opinion and you've got yours. And we pray. Our desire and our prayer is that we can come together, talk over these differences, and look past and beyond these differences and come together to realize that we have a common enemy. And among that common enemy, we have brothers and sisters that are working on the wrong side. And our desire and our prayer is to win them, so they'll come back to the right side. There are many that are on the wrong side and don't know it, don't even know it. But I did see the show. I think it was a very profitable show. I think it was a great show. And I'll be on Taharka's show, Mauricelm-Lei TV. I'll be on there tomorrow. But when I meet this brother, I'll meet him as a friend. I'll meet him as a friend. And I respect the show. I respect what he said. I respect his honesty. And everything he said is very possible. Very possible. So, and he had a lot of great points. A lot of great points, Brother Damon Muhammad had a lot of great points, brother. So Damon X or Damon Muhammad. So I'm very thankful. I think it was a great show. I still think God is using Minister Taharka's show to bring people together. God is using it to bring people together. That's right. So God is still on the throne, brothers and sisters. God is still in the blessing business. God is still moving because he has created through a brother an avenue and a vehicle where black brothers and sisters who have not seen each other in the movement, right, who have worked with powerful people who could possibly come together. So all praises due to Allah that God has created the opportunity for me to see some of the ones that were loyal to Dr. Khalid, also in the Nation of Islam under Farrakhan. And we don't have to agree, but we all, at the end of the day, we're all brothers, we're sisters, we're black. And when the police is coming up on us to kill us, he's not going to be asking us whether we belong to Farrakhan's movement or Elijah movement. He's not going to ask us. He's not going to ask us. And I know some people are saying, well, Farrakhan teaches Elijah. He does not teach Elijah. I want to be plain about that. But with that fact that you can plainly see, it should not keep us divided. Shouldn't keep us divided, because if you believe toward Farrakhan, then prayerfully, hopefully you'll see something that you can use positively in the life of bringing black brothers and sisters together. I think there are some positive things that he's done. I think there are some lovely things that he's done. But none of us are beyond reproach. I don't care who we are. We're not beyond reproach. Our word is not the last word, right? There's only God, Allah, has the last word, right? The devil may plan, but Allah is the best of planners. So we have to understand that. We have to understand that. But I love my brothers and sisters, and I love Farrakhan. I just want him to get on the right side. I want him to teach justice and you can't do it working for the enemy. You just can't do it. So, point being, and proof of which, we see that he befriended a white man. He befriended him when he left Dr. Khaled out of the nation. You can't deny that. There's no way of denying it. There's so much involved in that, but we don't have to agree. But I think that Elijah Muhammad is the door. He is the door to our liberation. He is the door to our salvation. I know some people said Garvey, but whatever Muhammad did lasted. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad's teaching lasted. It lasted, brothers and sisters. Not just because Farrakhan brought it out. Silas Muhammad was moving, right? Jeremiah 33X was moving. You had many brothers and sisters that are still part of the Nation of Islam, still in Elijah Mosque that are moving. The biggest trick in the world is that it has not happened. They never destroyed Elijah's movement, brothers and sisters, but they derailed certain people by putting on these Copyons movements by black brothers and sisters that were willing to sell out for the white man and deviate. And that Elijah Muhammad did not teach about Dianetics. Elijah Muhammad did not believe that white people would be in the nation. He said in the day of redemption, right? This is in the Book of Wisdom, that there will be some, and also in the Message to the Black Man, that there will be, I think he said about 23 to 26,000 of them left. Somewhere around there, a remnant of them left. But they will not be left to dwell with us. They will be left as an example of the people who tortured us. And this is in the Book of Wisdom. So we have a lot to talk about, just to straighten it out. And I want to teach the truth. But I don't teach it in hate. Because I do not hate Farrakhan. Nobody can make me hate him. I don't hate him. I don't hate any supporter of Farrakhan. I just want, if you say you're with the Nation of Islam, then teach the nation's teaching. Teach the message to the black man. To the black man. It wasn't for the white man. It's not to the yellow man. It's not to the brown man. It's to the black man. The message is to the black man. So I want to be clear about that. But brothers and sisters, I'm thankful to be here. Because that message was a message to the Christian. That message, the black Christian, that message was a message to the black Muslim. I use the term black against my will, but I use it because it fits the purpose. It was a message to the African Native American, isn't that right? Where the red man come from, who still exists. It's a message to the lost and found. What do we mean when we say lost and found? Those that they fail to recognize. Those who don't know who they are, right? Who are in a land that is not theirs, speaking a language that is not theirs. Isn't that right? A language that's not their own. So we have to understand that. But nonetheless, I say again that I love my brothers and sisters. Nothing can make me hate them. Nothing can make me argue. If you notice, any show that I got on, even if I got upset with a sincere brother or sister, I won't argue with them. There's one show where this is an exception to that show, and it's Jesse Peterson. And I'm open about that because he was a coon, and he was calling other coons on the show when we were down in Ferguson, Missouri, during the Mike Brown campaign. And he was down there trying to cause trouble down there. So I did call him a coon, but he's still my brother. He's a coon. You have to be aware of him. Judas was a betrayer to Jesus, right? When he said, one of you shall betray me. What? My own. Then David in the Messianic promise said that it is he, this was talking about the life of Jesus and how he will be betrayed. David said in the Old Testament, right? I believe it was in the book of Psalm, if I make no mistake. He said, one of you will betray me, and it is he whose feet are under the table with me. Isn't that right? Jesus said it another way. He said, it is he who supped in the dish after me. What's thou doest, do it quickly. So brothers and sisters, we will be fools to feel that there aren't those around us that are being paid by the white man. That's the biggest example of Judas. Judas was being paid by the white man. Isn't that right? He was being paid by the white man. And so he gave him 30 pieces of silver covered tin. You don't hear me. It wasn't even pure silver. They used tin to give it shape. Isn't that right? They used tin to give it shape. So some of they call it worthless silver. Right, worthless silver. It was silver that was put in poor people's population. That's how they knew that they were poor. Isn't that right? It was so worthless that and bloody that the devil that gave it to him didn't want it back. Isn't that right? So Judas was the black betrayer of black Jesus. So we have to understand that. But I just wanted to get that out. But that brother on Tarka show last night was very sincere. This was a sincere brother. Or the night before last, he was sincere. And I didn't find any foul in him. He's a good brother. And you can tell that he was a good brother. And I look forward to meeting with him Sunday. Forward to meeting with him because he's a good brother. And you can tell he's a good brother. And I will not never be in the habit of attacking good brothers and good sisters. I won't do it. Even if they're bad, I won't attack them. I'll speak knowledge to them and speak the truth, and I'll leave it to them to decipher the truth for themselves. But I will never go against a brother and sister. I want to make that plain because I love them. My brother, I want to say peace and greetings to Brother Kareem. Peace and greetings to our brother Derek Witherspoon. And our brother Bruce says, peace be unto you. This will be a quick lesson, tribute to the man who names the name. He doesn't pull punches, but throws them in bunches. That's right. Steve Copeland was quite a brother. And I had the pleasure of knowing and working with him. And it was such a blessing to know him, such a blessing to work with him. This was a blessing. And all of this happened through Dr. Khalid Muhammad, because I would have never met Steve Copeland, wouldn't have known about Steve Copeland had it not been for Dr. Khalid Muhammad and my grandfather, who sponsored Dr. Khalid Muhammad, and we appreciated him. Pastor Reverend Samuel Rogers was my grandfather, who was the human rights leader of the South, who was the aide of Dr. and Mrs. Coretta King. He continued that work even after the death of Dr. King to work with Miss Coretta King, who was like an aunt to me, who became an aunt to me. So, brothers and sisters, through that channel, I met Alex Haley, met a lot of people. Met Dr. Khalid Muhammad. I met Sister Ella Little Collins at 12 years of age at Tunica, Mississippi, at the Elijah Muhammad Mosque in Tunica, Mississippi, where they were commemorating the life of Minister Malcolm X. Listen to what I'm saying, brothers and sisters. On their holy day, and after the holy day, the meeting that we would have was after the holy day in August of 1986. August of 1986, we were able to commemorate the Minister Malcolm X's birthday. We commemorated his birthday, and we were doing it in an Elijah Mosque. And that should tell you that the white man is full of tricks. I say that to say this, that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad did not want Malcolm hurt. He did not want his family hurt. Sister Betty is very plain about this. I carried an interview, 1986, another interview, and that was at Elijah Mosque, Highway 61 in Tunica, Mississippi, after our speech. Dr. Khalid was there. My grandfather, Pastor Samuel Rogers, was there. Alex Haley was there. Sister Ella Collins was there. So there were people that were there when they were commemorating Minister Malcolm X, commemorating the OOAU, which is Organization of Afro American Unity. And I want you to know that the Muslims were united. There was no division. Only division that took place was when the government split the movement of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad under Minister Farrakhan and under Minister Wallace Warrington Muhammad, who was the son of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who started all of this mess, who became a CIA agent in prison. So this is the truth that we have to know. Brothers and sisters, don't forget to thumbs up, like, and subscribe, and please hit the bell so that tomorrow you will know about the show. I appreciate your participation today. And any questions that you have, don't be ashamed to ask. And we do have books on this, and it's perfect research. You can also find it in Freedom of Information Act. You can find it. And I've been around a long time. See, but the man, he'll keep blocking you, right? If you're a revolutionary, the white man will work against you and block you. You'll find that out. If you're standing up for justice, standing up for peace, standing up for righteousness, right? And you united black people. I don't care if there are a handful of people. I don't care if it's 5. The white man is afraid when he sees 5 of us together on the same number. He's afraid. So I want you to know that. So our brother Derek Witherspoon said we have multiple demons. That's true within the black community. And certainly peace unto him, peace unto Brother Karim. Our brother Derek Witherspoon asked, when are you going to teach on economic, cash, and possible race war? Oh yes, we have that coming up, brother. I have the shows lined up to once we get through this information, and we will start teaching that. Now, yesterday I talked very briefly about it. I understand the economic crash. Yes, sir. I understand that. I understand that very much. But we did cover some of it yesterday, how we would get beyond this economic crash, and the coming war. We did talk about it a little bit yesterday. We're going to have to take over. I'm going to say this very quickly before we get into our lesson, that we're going to have to take over the states where we have majority black people. We'll have to start there because we'll need strongholds. And that's why we have advocated for gun rights. I'm happy when I see young men with guns. I don't get afraid. Why would I get afraid? The only thing we got to do then is just tell them what you got these guns for. Yeah, let them know that the white man is coming by and killing us. Join in. Come on, join the African American Defense League. Join the Army. We got a black army standing aside. Don't let the white man fool you. If you keep listening to this white man, he'll fool you and trick you every time. Yeah, we're ready. Many of us standing aside ready. We're not afraid of dying. Brothers and sisters, we're already dead. The white man is already killing us. What do you and I have to fear? We're not afraid. I don't have anything to fear, brothers and sisters. I don't have anything to fear. So I get happy when I see young men with guns. Black men, yeah, they won't be cowards. They won't have the parents that we had. They won't have them. Parents telling us to keep the peace, to suffer peacefully, to make peace. Isn't that right? No, they won't have to be bogged down by that. So when I see them with a gun, I'm going to thank God that they got a gun. Then after that, I'm going to tell them what to do with the gun, how to aim the gun, and where to aim it. Yeah, that's our job. So I get happy. I get proud. I see young men that'll pick up a gun. We just need to train them that you're shooting at the wrong enemy. You're not your brother's enemy. You're your brother's keeper. The man that's causing you to hell, who is your enemy. Isn't that right? So we gotta be wise, brothers and sisters. On these days, we gotta be wise. So God has caused us to resurrect this world today, and we have to resurrect it with truth. We won't resurrect it if we don't have truth. Now, we will not resurrect it. We've got to have truth, and we're going to resurrect it. You got to know the truth. You can't ask a deaf, dumb, and blind Negro what he wants. He doesn't know what he wants. If he's deaf, dumb, and blind, he doesn't know what he wants. He can't see it, and if he can't see it, he can't even speak to what he wants. And if he can't speak, he can't even hear. You don't hear me. Because when you speak, the first person you're talking to is yourself. How you identify your wants, your needs, your desires. Isn't that right? So brothers and sisters, we've got an amazing lesson. We're going to talk about Brother Steve Coakley. This brother is beyond doubt, one of the most brilliant brothers that we had ever had the pleasure to have in our life sphere in the time that he was with us. Isn't that right? This Steve Coakley was one of the few brothers that would point out Kilgores, and point out Calliopes. In other words, point out the truth. He would see the truth and point the truth out beyond doubt. Nobody could stop him from pointing it out, not even Farrakhan. Now, of course, we're going to talk about the things that he went over, and then we're going to discuss it because tomorrow's a show coming up where we'll talk about Dr. Khalid and from Brother Coakley's explanation, one, and his explanation part two. We're going to talk about that and the involvement of the assassination attempt on Khalid's life, the involvement of Farrakhan, because this is true. This is true. We can't get by it because of common knowledge of it. And many Muslims know. They may lie about it, but they know. Especially, maybe the rank and file Muslims don't know, but I know a lot of the FOI captives knew. That's the truth. So we'll talk about one, then we'll talk about two. And we'll talk about why it happened. Dr. Khalid had knowledge of a lot of things that were going on. And we talked about it before, and Steve Coakley points this out. The problems within Black Boule movements, right? So this Steve Coakley, the political analyst, the researcher, the lecturer, right? He in no uncertain terms let us know exactly what was going on. The brother did not hold back. He did not hold back. So he left us with a lot of knowledge and a lot of things that we could use, right? Because you would agree, and you should agree, that we are in war. You should be agreeing right now that we are in war. We haven't taken an active part in it, but we are in war. We are in war. So I'm sure you would agree that because we're in war, we need to be having strategies and having meetings right now to understand exactly where we are. Yeah, right, brothers and sisters? Because we are at war. So my job at this point is to direct and tell you, right, with proof, our brother Steve, his foundation, what that meant to us and what the loss meant to us, because his passing was a great loss, and we lost a lot at the loss of this brother. We lost a whole lot at the loss of him, and we'll never find another brother to do it like him. Never find it. We've been looking for it, but we'll never find it. We'll find historians, we'll find lecturers, we'll find researchers, yes. We'll find those that's got all three, but we'll never find those who are able to get into the inner chambers of the subconscious of a corpse, right? Of people who are no longer here and individuals. We'll never find it. We'll never find anyone that can do that. I don't believe in our lifetime. They may get close, but we'll never find anyone that can do it like Steve Coakley. They were able to deliver, right, over and beyond, right, our expectations and answer our questions in the course of the lecture to prompt other questions, right? He was guiding us because he wanted us to get there, right, to understand exactly what was going on. And he did not hold these things from us. So we're very thankful. All we can do is be thankful for our brother, thankful for the knowledge that he brought us, right? Be thankful for his teaching. All we can do is be thankful. And we need to be thankful because God had shown us through him. Isn't that right? God has shown us that no stone can go unturned, and whatever and wherever a crime happened, just like the blood of Abel crieth out from the ground, right, to God after the killing of Cain, so shall it be also in the Son of Man and the coming of the Son of Man. Brothers and sisters, you may ask, who is the Son of Man? You and I are the sons and daughters of men. Isn't that right? Who was shaped in the image of God. Then it said, let us make man. Isn't that right? Let us make you man, right? The black man. Let's make the man out of you, the dark clay. Isn't that right? Isn't that what the word says? He formed man from the dirt of the ground, the dark clay, right? Let us make man in our own image and our own likeness. Well, brothers and sisters, that was talking about us. That was talking about you and I. Let us, isn't that right? Let us make man in our own image and in our own likeness. So, brothers and sisters, this teaching that we got from Coakley, who understood his purpose and understood who he was. He understood it. Is that right or wrong? And in the light that he did understand it, in the light that he did understand it, he was able to put it to us, and he had to put it to us in a language that we were able to understand. So, you and I, first of all, have to understand that we're in war. That the minute that we came to these shores, we're in war. And I have to say it, I keep repeating it because there are some people that don't know that they're in war. They don't know how prison look, right? They don't know how oppression look. They don't know how slavery look, right? We are oppressed. You and I are oppressed. You and I are in slavery. You and I today are in slavery. We are oppressed. There's no doubt about that. I don't care what you say and how you shine it or how many stories you tell. At the end of the day, you'll find out that we're in slavery. All of us. And here's the crazy part about it, is that, and this is why I tell you we'll never be free. This is why I tell you we will never be free. We'll never be free because if he was to free us, then we wouldn't be able to support his system of oppression. And if we don't support his system of oppression, then the President of America will cease to be. Now, with that being said, the only thing that you and I have to do is stop working for the white man and create our own source of income, right? And to pool our wealth. Isn't that right? You may buy some from me, and I can turn around and buy it from you. Is that right or wrong? We can do that, brothers and sisters. We can do that if we'll only yield to the village mentality, right, that we carried in Africa. And that's why there were so many kingdoms in Africa, right? You don't hear me. There were so many kingdoms in Africa because this mentality of wealth was not on the level that the white man's mentality on. Even today, and I'm going somewhere with this because I have to lay it down before I can tell you. I have to lay it down. Even today, if you look, even today, you'll find out that a black man could take $20 and he could probably eat on it for 3-4 days, maybe even a week. Because he's going to get something that's going to hold him, for him and his family. $20, just a basic $20, right, which is no money. I'm sure you would agree. It's no money. It's a lot of money when you ain't got it. When I don't have it, it's a lot of money. When I don't have it and I need it. But when you get it, it's still not a lot of money. But now, a white man can't take $20 and do that because his expectation of the dollar is too high. And this is the reason why he complained about his expectation of the dollar. Now, with that being said, if he could create an organization or a company or institution that needed you to push it, to make it survive, right, to make it capitalistic in the sense that he's created a need, right? He's created something that you need, then you will have to give life to the institution. So if you got a convenience store, you go in there buying a bubble gum, right? Just a simple piece of bubble gum. And you may like that purple bubble gum so much, somebody else may go and buy it. You tell somebody else about it, so come and buy it. And that's how it works, right? You have 100 people to buy that one piece of bubble gum, right? The man has made up to $5. Just that one piece of 5-cent bubble gum from 100 people, right? Right? He made $5. So you got to see that in the area of economics. You got to see it. And we're going to talk about that because what we're talking about now is capitalism. We're talking about capitalism. And the system of capitalism, right, is an individualistic system. It's not a united system. It's individual. The white man, each of them want a share of power, right, that they're able to run their stores, their businesses, and have some say-so over the district in which they invest their money. Isn't that right? So these districts are very old. They're broken up the same way that the Greeks and the Romans broke them up. They were broken up. The white man had districts when he was in the mountains, right? Underground, they had certain districts. And I want you to understand see, there's a difference when you say district, right? And when the white man says district, there's a very big difference. When he speaks, right, he speaks of something territorial. When you speak, right, you speak of something commune or communized, right? When he asks you, where are you from? And you say, I'm from New York, right? When you ask him where he's from, right, he'll say, I'm from New York, the Best-Stuyvesant area, right? And such district. So his area, or when he said district, is the area of a country, right? Right? What district are you from? He'll say, I'm from Syracuse. Isn't that right? Right? When you say where you're from, you may tell where you're from and talk about the living area that you live in, right? Which is foolish, because you just gave the man all the information, and you were trained to do this. This is the way the slaves did in slavery. You're trained to do this. When you look at, and this is amazing. If you look at Brooklyn, right? If you look at Bed-Stuy, if you look at Flatbush, you look at Queens, all of these at one time were slave districts owned by the Jews. At one time, they were all slave districts owned by the Jews. And it was in the northern region. It was up to the slave to tell any white or their master, in case they were outside of their district. I hope you hear me. I hope you understand what I'm saying. It was up to them to tell their master where they were from and where they lived in case they were outside their district. So when you hear even the rappers, you hear anybody, even wealthy blacks, right? Because you had a wealth class among the slaves. You don't hear me. This is how you had a house slave and a field slave. And I'm going somewhere with this, right? The house slave was part of the black boule that belonged to the white man. Is that right? Marcus Garvey was part of the boule movement in Haiti. Why? Because he came from the mulatto class. Isn't that right? He was attached to that class, and he was supported by that class because of his family lineage. So they were both owners, but also oppressed. Isn't that right? And in order to understand that, we have to go back to Haiti, right? And talk about the Haiti district and talk about the first emperor of Haiti and all of that to get a good understanding of it. And we're going to do that very briefly, because then we're going to jump back to America. We're going to go to England, right, to understand where the blacks are. These are the main areas where blacks are. We're going to explain it. But I want you to understand that this algorithm, this formula, applies to wherever there's black people. I want you to understand that, because I use the algorithm and formula, right, for assassination of a people, of a race, of a nation, of a person, right, of an organization, right, of an institution, because all of it applies the same way from top to bottom. And the man hadn't changed anything he was doing. He had not changed it in the last 400 or so years, which is actually 642 years for slavery, right? Because they was only enslaved 467 years in America. But they had slavery going on in England an additional 200 or so years, 200 and a bit years. And prior to that, there's slavery that went on under King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella for 3,000 years, right? Or excuse me, not 3,000 years, but from 1492, right, to 1492 to the time that Henry VIII pulled away from the Catholic Church, because the Catholic Church were the financiers, right, along with the Jews, the Jewish buyers, right, or investors, were the financiers of the transatlantic slave trade as it related to King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella. So this is very important because Catherine, who was the daughter of Queen Isabella, had married Henry VIII. Isn't that right? So they were holding, as far as Europe, and I say from that time period on, they were holding a major piece of the pie for all European Union, where it stands today, and the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, which is NATO. When they say NATO, that's what they're talking about. White people who owns you per capita globally. That's what they're talking about. And when they say these things, you got to know what they're talking about. The Geneva Convention is the convening of NATO, right? All of the ones that's under NATO, right, or the global support of the North Atlantic Trade Organization. That's the Geneva Convention, is the military, so to speak, right, discussion, right, that would bag up a war or not bag it up, right, who increase global laws and global oppression or decrease it, right, who decide who they're going to finance, right, who's coming into power, and decide who they're not going to finance, right? Is that right or wrong? Is that right or wrong? If you look, at one time England was powerful in Africa. They were there. They were being financed, right? They were being financed in Africa because they had the power. They needed the power. They had to create a cash crop. Slavery wasn't anything new. The England just come in and getting in on it, right? But that could only last for so long because Spain had poured out. The Catholic Church were no longer financing them, and so slavery itself was not. They came in on the end of it. It was not as fluent economically as it had been in the past, except in the areas where America was, because it became something new, and these slaves have been taken away from their natural land into a land that was not their own, given a language that was not their own, right, to harvest and farm in that area, which in this they made massive discoveries and created massive inventions. And this means something, and we're going to talk about it very much. But when the white man talk about district, to get back on it, when the white man talk about district, it's an area or country or a city, right? When he talk about district, he talking about an area, a country, or a city, especially one regarded as a district unit. And I made sure that I recorded it just perfectly the way it is because of a particular characteristic. In other words, right? When he says, "Where are you from?" or said, "Where do you shop?" and they turn and say, "Well, I shop at Nemus and Marcus," right? And they say, if they say, "Where are you from?" "Where do you shop?" or "Where's your favorite place?" and they name the place, then they can tell you exactly where they're from. They're not running around telling you, talking about Cristal as a drink and all of that. They're not doing that. They're busy every time they get together, right? They're meeting and correlating and meeting, and it is understood that you are the enemy. It's understood, so they speak into these division of districts, right, which are nothing but powers. If you remember Pontius Pilate and the Romans and the Greeks, right, like Caesar, from Caesar on down, when they had territories, they had power, right? Alexandria to Caesar. When they had territories, they had power. They had military organization that reinforced those areas, and if they had a disagreement, they would go to war with each other. Isn't that right? Most of the time, the disagreement was over slavery, right? Because if you live so long with slaves, right, you become in debt. The slaves began to own the very quarters that they were imprisoned in, and so you have to think of another institution. So this is where colonialization comes from, and we're going to talk more so about that. But we talked about Marcus Garvey. We talked about the Boule movement and what the Boule movement is. And it's important that you understand what the Boule movement is as it relates to Marcus Garvey, because Haiti is the best example of this. When you talk about Haiti, Haiti is the best example, or the Haitian Revolution, right? The Haitian Revolution is the best example, and you wonder why or how Marcus Mosiah Garvey could have been over in this area. Brother, it's easy. It's easy. The reason that he was over here is because he wanted to enact economically what they couldn't enact in Haiti. Right? We're not going to go through the entire Haiti war, but I will tell you this: that Toussaint Louverture, right? Or when some people say Oliver, that's not true. The white man taught us a bad name and said Toussaint Oliver. There wasn't Toussaint Oliver. Toussaint Louverture. Toussaint was known as a general, right? Or Toussaint Breda, who was born the 20th of May. I keep telling y'all something about this May. Keep telling you something about May. He was born in the 20th of May, 1743. He died the 7th of April, 1803. Now remember now, he dies in 1803. The Haitian Rebellion is still going on. It had went from a war to an economic fight where the Haitians desired to control their own government. Isn't that right? But in order to control their own government, they have to have financier. Right? So this is where the Black Boule comes in, which were with the French. Isn't that right? The Black Boule who were with the French. Now, I'm going to cover this in a grand sense, and then after that, we're going to have a show to talk about it where I'll have the time to give it to you, particularly the way that it happened. But just keep in mind that from this long line of revolutionaries, long line of what do you call it? Mulattoes that are French and African, right? White, should say white French and African, or albino French, because these people were albino at the time. And this is the last color grade to being black. And you have to understand this, but they identify themselves being white. Now, there have been a lot of people that are passed for white that have been black. These were the people that had the grades. This is where they get the shades from. If you're light, you're all right. If you're brown, you can stick around. If you're black, stay back. Isn't that right? So the lighter ones would control, right, Haiti, right? The only exception to that would be the ones that have been in a part of government, that if they're dark, they're attached by bloodline to these individuals. It's still a system of segregation. Still a system of segregation. There's no different. No different at all. And you'll find out that I believe the one that turned on Toussaint Louverture and also turned on John Baptiste, who was the division general, John Baptiste Brunet. You'll find out the same man was responsible for both of their deaths. The same man was responsible. I'm going somewhere with this. These were revolutionaries that had fought to put themselves where they belong. They fought to get independence. Right? They weren't selected by the powers that be, because the ones that were selected by the powers that be was the reason why all of Haiti went into war against this white man. And in going to war against the white man, they had to go to war against some of their own people. Isn't that right? So you had this guy named Dessalines, right, that went against John Baptiste, went against Toussaint Louverture, and went against There's another brother. I'm going to think of his name, but it was at the Battle of Stockholm in Haiti. This was 21st of March. These dates are important. 21st of March, 1799 through the 25th of March, 1799. Now, they fought war. They were fighting war all the way up to 1803, because remember, it was changing from a physical war to a political war, from political war to economic stability among the Haitians, the Haitian Africans. Just say that, the Africans in Haiti. And when they had established some form of government, this guy, Charles Leclerc, originally asked Jack Dessalines to arrest Louverture. But Dessalines didn't do it immediately. Then so the task fell to this guy, Burnett. However, each of them were fighting for power. So basically, the white man who asked Dessalines to do it first, and the same one that asked Brunet to do the killing, his whole purpose, you had one devil and two demons, right? His whole purpose was to get in control of Haiti. He didn't care who did it, right? He didn't care. If that something happened to that person, he's got another one in place. So how is Toussaint Louverture, right? This general, how is he captured? On one account, this guy Brunet, as they call Burnett, pretended that he had planned to settle in Saint Dominique. Now, another important stronghold, because Saint Dominique is a West Indian French colony, 1659 to 1804. Right? Listen. It was a West Indian French colony from that time, 1659 to 1804. Remember 1803, 1804, France is still fighting. Here in America, what happens in 1803? What happens? In 1803, the French, right, is fighting, right, the French and American Revolution. The French is fighting to keep Louisiana. They're talking about the Louisiana Purchase, right? America lose the war, right? France, and it was a small scrimmage. They don't tell you about it, but this happened. France, at that time, needs to sell it. So there's a peace treaty signed, right, which is the Louisiana Purchase of 1803, because France was out of money. They're losing the battle in Haiti, right? And it makes the slavery machine weak, even for Britain, who was the power for those United Kingdoms, right? The UK. And so Napoleon and the French army administration sells a piece of land that they really couldn't control and really didn't own. Because in the Louisiana Purchase of 1803 would involve Louisiana, would involve Arkansas, which you also had the Missouri Compromise. So certain part of Missouri, they would have to come into place. They created the compromise to incapacitate, to sort of seal the deal and all of this. And so when they sell it, they still don't have control of it. And the brothers and sisters that were inside of Louisiana and Arkansas, and the northern part, very state line of Louisiana, fought to keep that area free. They literally fought to keep it free. This is very important. So these districts fought. You understand? This is what the white man see when he see districts. They had fought. So I want to tell you that. So that is the whole thing with Saint Dominique. That from 1659 to 1804, right? Because remember, the war was happening. So finally, French said, hey, we lose too much money, we give up. And the Caribbean island of Hispaniola, Hispaniola, right? The island on which excuse me, brothers and sisters, the countries of the Dominican Republic are on these islands, and Haiti, their president, located on these islands. Okay, so that's very important to know. And so that they're trying to gain power. They're trying to gain power, and they couldn't beat them, so they started getting people that look like them to do their dirty will, people that they had to get. So Toussaint, when Brunet pretended that he planned to settle in Saint Dominique, and he asked Toussaint-Lei advice about the plantation management there, they said plantation management because this was a district, the plantation district that ran their government. How are we going to manage this? Louverture's memoirs suggest that Brunet's troop had been provocative and leading Louverture to seek discussion with him, and he was manipulated, right? He was embarrassed about Brunet's trickery, right? Brunet himself excused himself during the arrest of Toussaint-Lei, and he was captured by the British and not released until 1814. Why is 1814 important? I'll tell you why 1814 is important. Because they knew, the English knew that they could no longer hold it. There was no longer a holding of the stronghold. They couldn't do it, right? They couldn't do it. And they couldn't get Dessalines initially to do it. Brunet is put in jail, right? Afterwards, and he himself also is killed by Francois, or rather Dessalines, who became the emperor, right? He sold out. I want you to know that he sold out, and he became the emperor. This guy Dessalines, right? And when you see Dessalines, you'll understand how Marcus Garvey, in this lineage, right, of mulattoes, right, and Creoles, right, how Marcus Garvey was to gain wealth. His family had some kind of backing, right? His family had some kind of backing. So when you go to read about Toussaint and the troubles he had led this victory in war, right? Just like Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, brothers and sisters, just like Nat Turner, just like Denmark Vesey. They had fought, but they couldn't leave them alive. White people are so vindictive and so hypocritical in this war that we're involved in that he can win like a good sport, or rather lose like a good sport. He'll take some old buck dancer, right? Some old black buck dancer and put them against us and us against them. That's the way he does. That's the way the white man does. So same there, he hasn't changed anything, right? Because I'm just giving a synopsis, and I'm going to bring it up to date. Dessalines, the evil that this white man had Dessalines to do was to kill Baptiste, Brunet, and eventually, or his administration, to kill Brunet, and also to kill Toussaint Louverture. And you'll find out that after that, Dessalines was proclaimed, listen, by the French, right, as the emperor by the generals of the Haitian Revolution Army. The French instituted it, right, as if you let him be emperor, he shedded blood, right? This is the red carpet being rolled out, right? He shedded blood for us So we'll let him be the emperor. He's killed his own people. He betrayed his own people. So here's somebody we can work through. So you'll find out that each time this white man can send you out to do a kill there or do a deed in death, right? Then for him, that means he can trust you. This is where the red carpet come from. See? This is where the red carpet come from, right? And you have to understand that because you had in Haiti, you had free people of color, right, who had gained some education, gained some property during the colonial period. What are they doing? The colonial period, the time when they were colonialized, time when they were still in oppression, still in slavery. These are the house slaves, the sellouts, right? It's going to do anything the master says. Going to do anything the master says. You have to understand that. And you have the others that will rise to the occasion to get power because they're willing to do anything to do it, and if that means betraying their own people. So let's bring it to today. And this foundation Coakley had laid down, and I'm speaking in depth now that you may know, and I'm building a foundation that you may know exactly what I'm saying. It's the same plan here in America today. You've had great leaders. The white man sent some old sellout to kill the leader, right? Here comes the dreamer. Isn't that right? Isn't that what the scriptures say? Here comes the dreamer, right? Let us kill him and see what become of his dream. Isn't that right? Isn't that right? So in America, Coakley was letting us know that these systems have not changed, that they have a black boule movement. Brothers and sisters, if you don't believe that, you better keep on living. You just keep on living. Pretty soon, you'll find out that they have a black boule movement. They got one. They got a black boule movement, and they got black Negroes, black chocolate-covered crackers, sellouts, right? Sellout that will sell you out, and you know it for any fashion. First, when they put them before you, you're tricked, you're fooled, right? You're bamboozled, led astray. You know it. You don't have any knowledge of what's going on. None whatsoever. None whatsoever. No knowledge of what's going on. But all you got to do is wait. Pretty soon, you'll see them show their hand. Isn't that right? And it'll be things that you don't understand. We can't give people a pass in the black community, right? Because they're black. Can't do it. That's why I'm thankful to God that he uses shows to bring out who can be trusted and who can't be trusted in our community based on their action, not based on whether we like them or not. Because that means nothing. Not based on whether we like them or not. Because we got it backwards. Many of us will like somebody, won't dare say anything against them because we like them. Well, this person is not doing anything for us, not doing anything good. Isn't that right? Not helping us one bit, not helping the black community one bit, but they're doing all these evil against the black community. Every time you turn around, they're doing evil against the black community. Every time you turn around, in some shape, form, or fashion. And these people are normally tied to the deaths of great leaders in the black community that have sacrificed their lives to do some good. Is that right or wrong? And Steve Coakley points this out. He points it out. It's not only the white man that you're concerned about, but it's also his black boule. The black boule will do the job that the white man can't do. He'll do the job that the white man can't do. Isn't that right? He'll do the job. And so when we think of Coakley, there's some very interesting things about him that I think you should know. And I was very, again, thankful to have known the brother and to attend his lectures. I thought his lectures were wonderful. He's the one and only, brothers and sisters, the one and only. This brother, our brother Steve Coakley, such a great friend and such a great loss to the black nationalist community, and you just don't know how much. Because this brother, who is an American political researcher, lecturer, writer, nationally on political and economic issues as it related to black people, especially the black community. So as it related to black people per capita, but we're going deeper, especially the black community. What do I mean? He could judge the wealthy black as a privileged black, but still under oppression, right? The same as the house Negro was on the plantation. They had money, they had bank accounts, they had clothes, they could drive what the master drove, they could eat what the master ate. Isn't that right? What the master didn't eat, he gave it to them. Right or wrong? Right? And they knew the master well enough to fulfill the desires and needs of the master. Isn't that right? So they did whatever he said. Even if somebody did something, the master wasn't around. He could even slap the slave and beat him when the master wasn't around. He had that right because it was his job, to keep the slave, right, in place, right? And why would he? Because it will keep his investment in place. So this brother, very powerful brother. He was noted as a futurologist in the sense that he talked about organic farming. He talked about communal living, right? He talked about this water conservation. I remember he made reference. One of the few people that were making reference toward this Bohemian health food and what it was all about and all that. He sort of searched the crowd and see who was ready. He liked to see who was ready when he gave these lectures. He gave over 5,000 lectures, right? Talked about global warming. This is what his mind was. The brother was conscious. He talked about the Trilateral Commission and the Bilderberg Group. Now, a lot of people don't know what that is. I had a chance to work with him concerning these things. I was learning mostly in the beginning because I was very young when I met him. Very, very young. I was hardly 16. I was about 13, maybe 14 years old. But this Trilateral Commission, brothers and sisters, you have to understand what it is, right? And you need to research these things, brothers and sisters. This is important for us because I want you to know that, understand this, that racism is non-governmental, right? And it's international, and it's aimed at fostering a closer cooperation between what? Remember, everybody that's not black. The Trilateral Commission it fosters a program to strengthen the economic wealth, the political wealth, right, and the social wealth of everybody not black. That's why I tell you the black man has no friends, right? And this brother was talking about this, my God, earlier on, right? He was almost like one of the prophets from the old times, Gary and Noah Ali. I mean, you could literally pitch him into that. His mindset was in line, right, with the most honorable Elijah Muhammad and many of these other people. I give the brother that credit. And this brother was not a religious brother. He was respectful. He had a respect for religion, but he himself was not limited by religion. And this is very important. It says a whole lot because this concept of religion didn't stop him from his spiritual growth, right, in observing all things, right? And doesn't the scripture say the righteous man observes all things, so or judges all things, right? And allows himself to be judged, right? And so in the sense of reverse theology, if he allows himself to be judged, then he's transparent. So you can't judge somebody who's transparent because they're open unto you and they're apt to agree with whatever critique you give them because it builds them up as an individual. So he was a very peculiar and very strange individual in the sense that he responded to things with gratitude. He responded responded to critique with gratitude. He wasn't like a lot of people. But this trilateral commission that he talked about is non-governmental. That's the key thing. And it's aimed at fostering closer cooperation with countries like, remember, all other countries that are not black. So countries like Japan, Western Europe, North America, right? It was founded in July of 1973, right, by the American bankers. It was founded by the American bankers and philanthropists. What's the white man's name? David Rockefeller. David Rockefeller found the Trilateral Commission. So the Rockefellers, right, which is part of the Rothschild, isn't that right? The Rockefellers, the Rothschild, and they have Boule, which we talk about the Boule, we talk about the mulattoes, right? When we talk about the Garveyites, we talk about Dessalines, right? We talk about Burnett, right? The other those in Haiti that were going through the same thing. We talk about all of them, isn't that right? We talk about all of them. So now, up at this area, we get a chance to talk about the Rothschilds, right? The Rockefellers and their Boule. So everywhere the white man was, and everywhere he is, he has black house slaves, right? When they came out of slavery, that he built up with wealth because they helped him with his investment, even his bloodline, to sustain his bloodline, to keep his practices of oppression going on, right? Barack Obama was one of these people. Somebody's probably mad when I say Barack Obama was part of the Black Boule, but he was. He was part and is part of the Black Boule, Barack Obama, right? That's correct. Now, our brother Bruce has pointed out another fact, that the Boule are advisors to the king. That's true, brother. The king or any other authoritative figure in level. Just like when you had Greece, when we talk about it, because England come from Greece, France come from Greece, Rome come from Greece. So we have to understand that. When you say Greece, you're talking about all of them. This is a Western global power structure. Western global power structure. So the Boule answers right to it. Let's try to write this. The Boule, they answer. I'm gonna type this in there to the governing, because they have to be governors, governing districts, right? They answer to the governing districts of the Western, because this is very important, global power structure. Okay? Because this is, again, these are those that are running, literally running the world. And they have it broken down. Just like when you have an army, right, and they have it broken down to elements. This Western global power structure is literally running things just like an army. And they are an army. They are an army. They're the political, economic, and social army, right? That's why when you see a president, right, the general is not higher than the president. The president himself may not have even been to the military, but that general better salute him. He better come and salute him. Isn't that right? When you look, brothers and sisters, and you'll find out that in the nation of Islam, we have a hierarchy of rank, right? You have the rank and file Muslim, and then you have the officers. Isn't that right? And you'll see the rank and file, right? None of them are higher than the minister who's the representative of the nation of Islam. Isn't that right? He is the president. He is the representative of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. Isn't that right? Those are from the true nation. Isn't that right? Right? So, same way, in America we have a president. The 5-star general may have power, but he can't even call for war. Right? That's even left to the president. He can't even hit the nuke button because that's left to the president. Peace and greetings. Ido Iman, Brother Ido Iman. Brother Steve had a photographic memory. He was the black community CIA. When he came to town, he would have us to do intelligence analysis on local government. That's true, brother. I thank you for remembering that, because that's the kind of person that he was. He wanted to make sure that we were prepped, right, to understand how our government worked and who we are, who we were. To understand how the government worked. A lot of people don't understand how our government works. They really don't understand. So that's very important. We live in, let me say this too, brothers and sisters. For those of y'all that probably don't have it in the chat comment section, our sister says, peace and blessing, family. I apologize for my absence today. Sending love and light. Sister, we definitely thank you, and we certainly miss you on the show, and we do love you. I'm sure I certainly speak for myself, but I'm sure I speak for the others that know and appreciate you and all the sacrifice that you make in getting these shows out. That's Sister Goddess Nanu, Sister Joanna X, Goddess Nanu. So she's not able to be with us today. She has to certainly get some rest. Busy sister and just a powerful sister. So all praise be to Allah for her. And sister, we look forward to seeing you again very soon. And so Brother Steve does have this photographic memory, which makes him keen. He's keen. Now, he always ridiculed anyone that wouldn't study, reach, or support, right, individuals that were sacrificing to put this knowledge out, because he said that we often kill our wounded by not support. We often kill our soldiers, and our leaders, or wound them by not supporting them as they make a stand, right, that benefits us all. And if you look, you'll find out that this is true among black people. Either we can organize, right, that leader, we leave him an option to organize or mobilize. But the man had to spend so much time organizing that he don't get a chance to mobilize. Because how many know that everybody's not going to go with you? Proof of which, we're on the show, we push this knowledge out, and those that are interested, those that are wise, will find this show. But and that's the terminology that he gave. He said the path to righteousness, only a few will find it. Right? He said only a few will find it, or something like that. You know how he talk. But the wide road is flashy, got signs on it and everything. Everybody running down that wide road, going straight headlong into destruction. Isn't that right, brothers and sisters? It's like us to go flashy. We go after flashy stuff. Isn't that right? The brothers know. If you're not trained right, you got some sisters that'll doll themselves up, brothers. Isn't that right? And will get real feminine on you. This is back in the day. And you see it today, but you can tell. It's the only difference that the brothers don't care what the sister's life is like. They'll just grab them. And they won't grab them to teach or train them, because they ain't got no training themselves. And they ended up exploiting our women, which is a shame, because our women shouldn't be exploited. But back in the day, a woman would get real cute, but there was enough training around so that you could get her in the right direction. You had it in the Christian church or the Muslim temple. You had it. But as time went on, the sister would, without knowledge, would drag the brother, or the brother, without knowledge, would drag the sister off into a life of exploitation. So we see today, what is happening today was part of the blueprint of the past. Coakley doesn't leave it to any chance. He breaks it all the way down. He brings in all the major researchers, such as Francis Cress Welsing, such as Alton Maddox, the great lawyer, such as Leonard Jeffries. He brings all the credit. Dr. John Henry Clark. He brings them all in. Minister Malcolm X, Albert B. Cleage. He talked about all of these individuals. He doesn't leave it to chance. Sister Betty Shabazz, right? Young Malcolm Shabazz. He brings all of this in. He doesn't leave it to chance in his teaching. He brings in even the fraternities, right? Right? You look over my shoulder, you see the A5A. He brings in the fraternities, right, and talk about how ineffective they are. And I know for a fact, I'm somebody that have to see, but I know for a fact that the fraternities in the initial function was supposed to build up the black community, right? Was supposed to build it up. And initially, it started out that way, right? Right? But in order to be apostate from what's happening in the natural world, you have to have some form or some organization of righteousness, some blueprint to follow to keep you unspotted from the world so that you'll be able to function in that organization spiritually like it was meant to in order to help people. But there are two sides, right, of functioning organizations. Isn't that right? There's a spiritual side, right, which has good and also has evil, right? We said the angel on the shoulder, right? The angel on the shoulder. There's a good side and there's an evil side. And you have to be able to control it. And this is very old in the African history. We know it, that the good angel, the bad angel depends on us. Depending on what decision we make, which way we're going. Isn't that right, brothers and sisters? Don't forget the thumbs up, like, subscribe. Please, brothers and sisters, we need it very much. And I thank you for coming on the show with us. Don't forget the thumbs up and subscribe and like. And so that mindset depends on us. We've had this knowledge in Africa for millions of years. We've understood it. The white man didn't understand it, right? Because he rejected the knowledge. We didn't put him out. He went out to reject the knowledge. He went out to reject the knowledge. Our brother Ital Ayman, to illustrate the skills of Brother Coakley, I called a radio show he was on, and he had left. We met 3 years later, and he knew I was the last call, and he had left. Now that's a serious brother. He was amazing. That's all I can say. The brother was amazing, and I think he should be given much credit. I mean, to nationalism, to black nationalists, to black Christian nationalists, to black Muslim nationalists, if I can use that, for revolutionary theology, for black revolutionary theology, for black liberation theology, because these are also different. The black liberation theology is the Pan-African ideology of our freedom. The global ideology of our freedom is the message that we listen to. But when you, so that's black liberation theology. But when you said black nationalism is talking about the fight that we have on different levels. So black nationalism is the fight that we have on different levels of our freedom, right? It's the battle. We're fighting battles, but the ultimate war is our goal of Pan-Africanism, when all of us are going to explode, have a racial explosion, and get that man that's been oppressing us for oh so long. And I often read it to you, the 14th chapter of the book of Isaiah, and it talks about the end of the white man. It talks about the end of the white man, and so anybody that have not heard that, I'll read it again if they want. But this is one of the things that I had also gained from Brother Steve Coakley, and also the Honorable Dr. Khalid Muhammad when I was with them. Is the knowledge, right? We can have bountiful knowledge, but if we don't know how to put it in perspective, it's no good to us. It's no good to us. We got to be able to put it in perspective. And so that's what he meant. Now, I want to explain, and I think our brother, anybody, like our brother, he's not afraid to chime in. Chime on in. If you have something to say, please do. Chime in. Because the boule is very important as it relates to the Western global power structure. It's very important. We talk about the black male elite, right? This is very important. And Coakley had lectured on that through the college campuses and what the white man called conspiracy theories, right? Coakley point out in particular that the black male elite organization known as Sigma Pi Phi. He talks about it, right? And along with the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. at the hand of Reverend Jesse Jackson, who was a CIA agent, right? We already know it. This cannot be undone because the investigation we did from 1991 to 1996, I think it was 97. With these facts and with pulling of the FOIA, the Freedom of Information Act, and with the permission of Mrs. Coretta Scott King, Dr. Coretta Scott King, we were able to get the government made a judgment. They already knew, but they made a judgment in 1999, and you can find this, and had validated Coakley's claims that the federal government had killed Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And I mean, that was the end of the story. They passed it. All the proof had been there. They had it for a long time, but all the proof had been there, and they had put the facts on the table, and the King family was paid a large sum of money for that. But you can never get enough money for the loss of a life. But the important thing was that Dr. King had been killed. Minister Malcolm, they're doing the same thing now concerning him, which Steve had already come out and lined these things up. He had already come out and lined it up. Now, I want to tell you something. On one of the occasions when he brought charges up against Louis Farrakhan, and this is important for all the Muslims to know, that when he made these claims, the Muslims was some misguided Muslims, let me put it that way, because it's still up in the air whether they were given orders by Farrakhan. It's still up in the air. We don't know. We have no idea, brothers and sisters. We don't know. But, and I certainly don't know that. But I find it peculiar when he made this claim about this first assassination attempt against Dr. Khalid Muhammad. This is in 1994 by James Best, who is a known friend of Minister Farrakhan. A known friend, and this man is literally obsessed with Farrakhan. Known fact, to the point that Farrakhan acknowledged him as a friend. I'm just telling you. Okay? It was in 1993 that Farrakhan repudiated the speech that Dr. Khalid Muhammad said at King College, which held didn't have any bearing against the minister, any embarrassment, anything about the minister's personal life, or anything like that. It held nothing like that. The brother was simply defending Minister Farrakhan. But and I find this strange, and Steve points this out, that the House of Representatives, the House of Senate, right, and the Black Caucus, right, the Congressional Black Caucus. I keep telling you, the Boule, the Coons, right, the Boule and the Coons had bagged up the House of Representatives, the House of Senate, and the President of the United States for putting a gag order on Dr. Khalid Muhammad. Steve Coakley, by far, was the only one willing to point it out. Even when he was saying it, brothers and sisters, I was afraid, and I was still in the nation under Farrakhan. I was afraid at that time. I was afraid. For him. I never left Dr. Khalid in any of that. Never left him. I desired to see exactly what was going on. Dr. Khalid told me, he said, regardless of what you see, stay in the nation, continue your research, is what he told me, right? And don't you move until you feel led to move, but don't move because of what's going on with me, and don't move because of the explanations that you're receiving from Brother Steve. He said, he's doing his job and you got a job to do. That's what the brother told me. And brothers and sisters, because he knew that when you're inside of the nation and you're passionate to it, you have to go through a stage of separation and divorce, right? Because it's something you have to get out of your system. Now, I didn't leave the nation, but I had to leave from under Minister Farrakhan, right? Because at that point, the trust had been broken. And when you look at the life of Dr. Khalid Muhammad, we couldn't help but to request, right, more information about Minister Malcolm X. And we're going to talk about that tomorrow. So I believe it's tomorrow. So I don't want to give that away because it's very important. I don't want to give it away. But and I don't want to confuse you either because there's a lot of information in that. My point is simply this, is that Farrakhan gets no pass. These things have to be questioned and answered, and Steve is the first to say it above all men. And we have to give him that credit. We have to give him that credit because when others weren't talking, he was talking. But I want you to know that they made him recant some things, and we understood. I was there. I've talked to the brother. I had talked to the brother. So I was right there in the inner circle. We called it Dr. Collins' inner circle. Where we called each other. And I had questions. Understand that. I had questions. The brother had to, on several occasions, literally run inside his apartment, call us and let us know he was at home. When he was leaving, going anywhere, he called us because Muslims started threatening him when he came up with these revelations about Farrakhan that were common, plain to see to anybody who wasn't too close to the forest. See, lots of us can't see the forest because we're too close to the trees. See, we can't see. We have to step back and get it in retrospect. And then once we learn, we have to educate one another. So brothers and sisters, it's so much, but I want to explain, I'm trying to explain this brother, how powerful he was. So there were threats on his life, literal threats on his life. And he identified both Muslim and black nationalists that had threatened his life during the first assassination attempt of Dr. Khalid, and then, that we're going to talk about because he didn't say very much about that. But the second barrage of threats came after the death of Dr. Khalid Muhammad, and you'll see at some point he recanted, but he does say he makes it plain. If you are intelligent, brothers and sisters, he makes it plain what was really going on. So you have to hear what's going on, hear intently what's going on in order to understand. You have to hear intently, right? Jesus talked to his people in parables, right? Most prophets, which I put him in that category, talked in parables, right? And his true followers could understand. Those that were close to his bosom could understand what he meant, right? Because Jesus said, my sheep, right, will hear my voice, right? My sheep hear my voice. They understand. The things that I don't say, they can understand. They can discern it. Isn't that right? Because they've been around me the entire time, right? My Father put them what? In my hand, and they can't be plucked out. When you got a leader, see, we're just like Jesus. As black people, it's our job to cultivate, warn, and protect one another, just like we cultivate, warn, and protect this earth. Isn't that right? God put us there to be stewards, right? Shepherds. He put us there for that. And so Steve was no different. Any leader is no different. God put certain people in their hand that can't be plucked out. And they will understand that leader as much as they understand themselves, and vice versa. So our brother Hyman says to illustrate the skills of Brother Coakley. Let's see. That was an earlier reading. Brother Bruce says Steve Coakley broke down the King assassination at the United African Movement, and he would often say, "Check." That's right. Yes, checkmate. Checkmate. He wouldn't say checkmate, but he was like check. Yeah, because to bring a person to the knowledge of what's going on is one thing, but to make them embrace it against their will is something else. To make them embrace it. And there were things in the King assassination that was undeniable. I mean, his work was so thorough that the wife of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. hired him, so to speak, brought him in, made sure he was at the King Center, and raised money for him so that he could keep those venues. Raised money so he could keep the venues. So that should tell you the kind of trust that Sister Dr. Coretta Scott King had for him. The kind of trust that Sister Betty X and respect had for him. They had the same thing for Dr. Khalid. Very same thing. And why do I mention them in the same breath? Because you can't mention the one without the other. You can't do it, brothers and sisters. So brothers and sisters, we talked about it. We don't have a lot of time left, but I just wanted to touch on these things so that you and I could have some knowledge of what is going on. what is taking place with us today. They still have uh, the Builder Group movement. They still have the Rothschild, right? So many instances in charge of what's going on. They still have it. They still got the Colorado Commission, right? The Black BA. Isn't that right? Right? What is research delve into the history of Marcus Garvey, right? Isn't that right? Because a lot of people don't think about that. Marcus Garvey, the Black Panthers, and other areas of African history. They say African American history, but I say African, right? Because you have to make it plain that we're African, we're not American. We're African. Marcus Garvey, who we started out with, right? What was Marcus Garvey? First of all, he was from Jamaica, right? We had power in Haiti. We had power in Saint Dominique, right? In other areas, right? Right? He set up businesses with a printing press. Right? He had a printing press, and he was really a journalist. They don't say that, but he was. He was a political activist, a journalist, a publisher, and an author, right? And he was founder of the first founder and first president of the Universal Negro Improvement Association, the UNIA. And now his son lives in Florida now. You know, Marcus Garvey has a son, I believe, son or grandson. Son, I believe, or grandson. Son. He has a son. He has a son that lives in Florida, if he hasn't passed. And he has grandchildren that lives in Florida. And they still have the United Negro Improvement Association. They still have it. I didn't like the term Negro when they said it, right? Because I know what that word really means. I know what it means. So I didn't like that. There are many of you that know what it means. But this is to show you that Garvey, at some point, still had a level of approval. And remember, coons, sellout, blackneck. I'm not saying Garvey was, but I'm saying that they're in a different category toward real leaders because Marcus Garvey was a real leader, but he had some precedence over the others because of his bloodline. He had precedence. Now, he was not a blackneck, a turncoat, a sellout, or anybody that's going to buy in to the white man's game and scheme. But the fact that he had privilege and he was part of the mulatto dynasty, I'll put it that way, by bloodline, the failure was him seeing white people as the enemy. He did not see all of them as the enemy because of his privilege. He couldn't see them as the enemy. Right? Because of his ability, due to his bloodline, to be able to create something and get financing for it. Because he created a printing press, brothers and sisters. Marcus Garvey created a printing press. He created economic stability among African Americans. The first post history of the second history of slavery, second level of slavery, which was the sharecropper. So he went from, black people had never experienced that level of prosperity because when they came out of, and I'm talking about here in America, which is very important. I'm not talking about Haiti. Haiti has a different level. They may have poverty. They have a different level of colonialism, a different level of freedom because they play part in their own central government. Here in America, we don't play a part in our central government. We may be copiers and puppets in our central government, but we don't play a part in our central government. That's the difference. That's the difference. So Garvey came from still a privileged class. And those people are too close to the trees to see the forest. And he, at some point, anticipated that white people would deal with him as an exception. And it was the biggest mistake that he made. Copley points this out. Nobody likes to point this out concerning Marcus Garvey. He was very wise in his work. He was very wise. But he failed in the sense of feeling like he was an exception to the white man. You and I both know that this is a mistake now. Any black Negro, right? At this late day, feel like he's an exception to the white man because just like the white people were beating us when we were in Bowling, Alabama years ago. This is before the James 6 movement. Way before the James 6 movement. This was in the 90s. And we went there anyway, Mr. ready to fight. The white people were beating the black coons as well as the black protesters. They were beating everybody. One of those coons asked him, said, well, why you beating me? I showed them where everybody was. They said, we're beating you because you're a nigger. You see what I'm saying? So the sellout has to know that you're impressing a system, right, and supporting a system that is against you. So that same white man that you'll do anything for in the final analysis will kill you because he don't respect you. Matter of fact, he respect you even less than the one that'll fight against you. So this is very important that we know that. So he says it about Garvey. Now when you talk about the Black Panthers, we point out certain things that was a misnomer, such as Elaine Brown, right? This is how she's connected with the white man. She's actually dating and sleeping with a white man. Slept away, Elaine Brown slept away all the way through the Black Panther move. But she herself, right, was an agent, informant, provocateur. Isn't that right? Calvin and eavesdropper. She was an agent, right? Working for that white man she was sleeping with, getting money from him. This man was giving her money and drugs, right? Same one that worked with the CIA to put drugs in the black community, right? For Rick Ross, right? The original Rick Ross. Isn't that right? Freeway Rick Ross, to put drugs in the community. Elaine Brown was sleeping with the agent that was responsible for all this entire scheme with the government and giving huge drugs and giving them women, right? And getting them almost killed and betrayed. But when Huey found out about it, he took off and went to Puerto Rico. And he had to in so many instances, act dumb, because that's part of the revolution, brother. You can't let everybody know what you understand. He had to regroup and be ready to come back. But the whole thing was to stop the movement, right? It was her that influenced Bobby Seale. And remember, all the people that are with the man, you look at them, they ain't catching no trouble. They've been around a long time. Steve points these things out. He points these things out, brothers and sisters. So the only people that are killed are the people that are genuine. So brothers and sisters, we've come to the end of the show. I want to thank you and I appreciate your patience and all that you've done. And I pray that I've said something to help you and give you some understanding of Steve Copley, who works his algorithm, teaching, and knowledge. His formula for assassination, formula for destruction of the black community still works today. And I pray that I've said something from him that you can understand, appreciate, and be able to research. Brothers and sisters, I appreciate everything that you do and coming on the show and whatnot. Don't forget that we have our books. If you look at the tag that's at the top of this page, if you look at that tag will let you know that you can support by buying a book, or I'll leave this cash app with you and get out of your way for you to really enjoy the rest of your night. And I appreciate everything that you do. But you can also support us through the cash app, whatever it is, send it in to us. And all praises be unto you. All praises be unto Allah. Peace be unto you, brothers and sisters. All praises be unto God, or what have you, whatever you want, whatever he is to you. But we bear witness that there's only one God, and he had many prophets, many leaders. Isn't that right? But Muhammad is also his messenger. All peace and all praise be unto you. Peace be unto you. Assalamu alaikum.